With over 2 billion monthly active users, YouTube is a crazy powerful platform businesses can use to reach potential customers and grow their business. But getting views often isn't enough to make the efforts worthwhile. Those views need to turn into sales. And many times that is the major struggle businesses face when it comes to leveraging YouTube or any social platform for that matter. I'm going to walk you through the entire process of converting those views into sales and provide you with some of the most effective optimizations that you can make to help you grow your business. Now, the journey for a video view to turn into a new customer can look a lot different for each person and company, but a general outline for a customer journey starting from YouTube looks something like this. First, someone sees your video in their feed. We call that an impression. They then watch your video, and then they go to your website where they subscribe to your email list. Then they open one of the emails that you sent them, and they click a link taking them back to your website where they finally make a purchase. To improve your conversion rate, we are simply going to improve the percentage of people who move from one action to the next for every point in the journey. First, we do this by establishing a baseline of what our current rate is at each step. Then we make the changes to the right levers and we measure the results to see if the changes that we have made have overall improved from the baseline. And then we just repeat the process. Doing this can have a profound impact on the number of new customers that you receive. As an example, let's say that you have 100,000 impressions. Then that turns into 10,000 views, which turns into 1,000 site visits, which turns into 100 subscribers. And then out of those 100 subscribers, let's say that 10 of them return to your website. And then out of that 10, you end up making 5 sales. Now, let's say you have $100 per order, so that ends up being $500 in sales. If you improve each part of this just by 10%, then it looks like this. You get 100,000 impressions and 11,000 views, 1,210 site visits, 133 subscribers, 15 return visits, and 8 sales or $800, giving you a 60% increase in sales by increasing each one of these just by 10%. So the question is, how do you optimize each step of the journey? Let's start off with the first step in the journey, taking your impressions and turning them into video views. To do this, we're going to look at the click-through rate on your video. Let's say it's at 5% currently. That's going to be your baseline. And then let's say that you want to increase it to 7%. To do that, the levers that we could pull would be changing the thumbnail and the video title. Now, once you've changed those, you would then monitor the click-through rate to see if it had improved over time, and then you would just repeat that cycle until that step in the customer journey is doing well. This conversion optimization process serves as a template for every other step in the customer journey. We set up a baseline, we pull certain levers to create a change, and then we measure the difference with a KPI or key performance indicator, and then we repeat the process until it's performing at its best. Now, what is fascinating about this is oftentimes when you make changes like this, it also drives more impressions since your video stats have gotten better, which in turn just drives even more views and sales to your business. With this basic concept established, I want to dive into some more of these points in the customer journey to give you a better understanding of what to do. If you don't know who I am, my name is Steven Records, and I'm the founder of ContentThunder.com, where we help businesses and full-time content creators get the most out of their content by helping them with their content strategy, optimization, and website. Now let's talk about the next step in the journey of turning your video views into traffic on your website. To establish a baseline, we would look at how much referral traffic the video has generated versus the number of views that the video has received. Let's say that it's at 2% currently and we want to get it to 3%. There are a few ways that we can improve this. We can add links to relevant web pages on our website in the video description. We can also change the messaging in the description to give a more compelling reason to go to our website. Another thing that you can do is use info cards. These were previously called annotation links, but they're little cards that you can show up at the top of the screen whenever you're mentioning something. To use this feature, you do need to join the YouTube Partner Program, which requires at least 1,000 subscribers and at least 4,000 watch hours over the past 12 months, or 10 million views on shorts within the past 90 days. To track this, you'd want to figure out the total amount of referral traffic that you're getting from that YouTube video in Google Analytics. And then you would divide that by the total amount of views that you got on your video in the same time frame. So let's just say that you received 300 visits to your website from that video and that the video got 10,000 views. Your video view to website visit rate is 3%. There are other tracking methods that you could use to do this, such as using link shorteners or adding URL parameters into your links, but setting up Google Analytics reports is going to be the most straightforward way of doing this. Next, let's talk about turning your website visits into subscribers. A lot of people totally miss this one. They get so focused on building their audience on YouTube that they forget forget that it's still YouTube's audience until they have a way to communicate directly with them outside of YouTube's platform. And email is probably one of the most overlooked things that are essential to converting views into sales and creating a consistent and reliable stream of income for your business. Now, I've actually seen businesses with millions and millions of views on their website every year more than double their opt-in rates almost overnight just by making these few small changes. First, ensure at least 70% of your visits see an opt-in. You can do this by putting the opt-in higher up on the page, using a pop-up, or adding a sticky button for it. Next, you can A/B test the messaging or offer for your opt-in. Discounts obviously do really well as content enhancements like ebooks or doing something that's engaging like a quiz. Lastly, don't make it annoying. I know you want to get as many opt-ins as possible, but there is a fine line of where optimizing for this starts to damage the user experience to the extent that it lowers your rankings in search engines, and it just turns people off in general from wanting to come back to your website. So the key is making it visible without overdoing it. As long as you're not trying to get too granular with your reporting, checking on this particular stat is pretty straightforward. You would just set up a conversion goal for subscribing in Google Analytics and then see the total number of site visits versus the total number of subscribers. So let's say that you get 100 subscribers out of 2,000 site visits, then the opt-in rate is 5%. Now, obviously you can't expect sales just because you have a person's email address. You actually have to email them too. You'll want to send them things that they want and find valuable on an ongoing basis. But it's also important not to over-communicate to the extent that they want to get off your email list as fast as possible. You know, it's actually quite funny how much optimization is all about finding the right balance, because you can over-optimize to the point where it hurts you in the long run. For the emails themselves, all I want to say here is that clarity trumps mystery. So don't be clever, be clear and to the point, and ensure that you have easy to find links to your relevant web pages in your email. There's a lot that you can do to improve email optimization. These are just some of the basics to get you started. To track this step in the journey, most email platforms let you see the percent of opens and clicks, so the metrics are pretty straightforward for this one as well. The last step in the journey that we're going to talk about here is converting those return visits into sales. Content marketing for business isn't just about creating great content. It's about creating a complete content system designed to attract, capture, nurture, and convert your audience into sales. Your website is an essential part of that. So spend the time and money to make your website perform at its best. And here are a few ways that you can do that. First, improve the messaging on your website. One way to do this is to put yourself in the shoes of someone who knows nothing about your business and has never been to your website before. How would you make your messaging clear enough to where they understood who you are, what you do, and what your offer is? Next, you want to make the decision-making process as easy as possible for them. You do this by ensuring that your content is easy to read. Next, I'd recommend that you improve the usability and performance of your website, and that it's well formatted so people can skim through it and digest the information very quickly, that they have the information they need to make the decision without contacting you. Just a 1-second improvement to the load times of your website can improve conversions for mobile users by up to 27%. And fixing usability issues through creating a better user experience and better organizing your website are even more impactful. Lastly, it's important to pay attention to design. It's way more important than you'd think. You see, 90% of consumers consider visual appearance to be the key deciding factor in a purchasing decision. Also, a Forbes article reported that good design and user experience can increase conversions by up to 400%. Now, I like to think of it this way: just like your body language and tone communicates more than 90% of what you're saying, your website's organization, design, photography, and user experience says far more than the words that you have written, so don't neglect it. Now, how you track the conversion rates for this last step really depends on what you're selling and how you're selling it. For instance, you may have to record conversions just as leads if you only sell services, but for e-commerce stores or course creators, you would be tracking your product or course sales by having a conversion goal for purchases in Google Analytics and compare the total number of sales versus the total number of sessions or visits on your website. Now, there are a lot of ways that you can look at this one to optimize and improve your site's conversion, but I think comparing the total sales to your total website visits or the original referral source is the most straightforward option. All right, that's it for this one, but if you found this video helpful, then you definitely want to check out this one too. And if you want to see more of me in your feed, then all you got to do is like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.